Welcome back, guys, and in this video we are finally going to get this cab into high build and start on the rest of the truck, and I'm so excited for that. If you're new here, this is a 1953 GMC truck that I've been restoring from the ground up. I'll put a playlist here, go check that out. Now in last week's video we got the cab off the chassis, I prepped the cab for paint, and then we sprayed a ton of epoxy on it and did a ton of body work. Now as you guys can see, I've already put up the plastic again, which means I'm ready to start getting spraying, so let's get to work. Now I know that I said I was ready to start painting, but there's actually one more thing we need to do. We need to go ahead and get the belt line here seam sealed. So if you're not familiar with these trucks, this sheet metal overlaps this one right here. And it creates this seam here. Now it's not welded or anything like that, and you can get water and dirt and everything else can accumulate in this belt line. So what you need to do is come up in here and put a bunch of seam sealer. Now I've taped it off like crazy because I live by Murphy's Law. If it can go wrong, it will. And I know that if I didn't put that tape there, it would just be a giant mess with the seam sealer. So let's go ahead and get some seam sealer in that real quick. Now what we got here is a two-part epoxy seam sealer. I actually already used this when I did the floors in the cowl area. This is what I seam sealed it up with. So I'm just gonna use this. And since it's epoxy based, it should interact well when I epoxy it. Let's start jamming. Yeah, definitely glad I taped. It's already starting to create a nice little geyser on each side. There we go. Now I'm just gonna push it in with my finger, make sure it's all in there. And there it is, guys. I just want a little bit of some sealer in there just to make sure that is all sealed up. Now I do want to get this tape off quick so it doesn't dry and it'll be a pain to get off later. Well, now the whole cab is seam sealed up. You guys saw me after I ripped the tape off, I just started jamming in. I just needed to get that seam sealer everywhere it needed to be. But let's check it out. It's not too bad. So I think that line came out really, really good, and you can obviously still see the body line. So I'm really happy with that. And then you saw I jumped in here. I wanted to seal up the cab corners that we replaced over there, the floor, and definitely where the cowl meets the floor because that was just a spot weld, pinch panel all the way up. I even went in here and cleaned up the back of the welds for the cowl panel we placed there. Firewall over there on that side. And then also the patch panel we put in for the cowl earlier. Basically anywhere that water or weather can destroy, because I put way too much work into this cab just to let some water destroy it all over again. So if a little bit of seam sealer helps, that's what I'm gonna do. Now we're ready to lay epoxy. And as you can tell, this isn't actually sanded. So this has only been about 5 days since I've laid epoxy on this, and you have 14 days within to re-epoxy it, 7 days within to top coat it. That's a big reason why I picked this epoxy. And also I went through and I re-drilled out our mirror hole since we had put some body fill over that just to make sure it was smoothed out. And I definitely went through and already sanded back all of the drips from before. So that's out. The drip over here is out. And the drips from when I was just hosing in epoxy into the jams, I went ahead and sanded those out too. So what I'm trying to say is let's start laying some paint. I got about 1 cupful left of epoxy in this can, so let's go ahead and get it all shake and baked. Rinse down. Man, I love this thing. There it is, all nicely mixed. All right. Now we just pour it 1 to 1. Where am I at? Come on, 2, there it is. Get it nice and mixed up. And then, where's my liner? There it is. Slam it in. Ooh, and we're good to go. You just come over here and flick on the ventilation, which is just a bunch of fans at the garage door. And then I use the door over there as cross ventilation. Well, guys, it is the next day because after I painted this, I had to go in because I had work the next day. I've been trying to shoot this cab in between my work shifts, and we're getting there. We're getting it done, but it's been sitting and drying for about 24 hours, guys, and check it out. Man, this thing looks so, so good. Just, I love it so much. Now, you are going to see the dry spots because the filler really does soak up the epoxy really, really well. So I'm not worried about that, but all of the shiny metal is covered. The filler is sealed off. This cab is gonna be really, really well protected. And man, just look how well some of this came out. You see all the scratches, but you can tell that it's got a really nice shape to it. Down here in the cowl area looks really good. This body line looks good that we had to kind of make back there. I'm just really happy with it, guys. This looks so, so good. Now, if you guys are wondering about these 80 grit scratches, I did know that they were gonna show through. I wasn't worried about it. Mainly because I talked about it. All the pitting in the cab that's here, why am I gonna go ahead and sand this out to make sure that this doesn't come through if I'm still gonna be dealing with something worse? I mean, all of the pitting along the belt line also. Now, why do all that work to make it look good if I'm gonna have to spray a bunch of high build on here just to get rid of the pits? It's just better just to leave it that way. It's gonna get filled anyway, so I'm not worried about it. Check out how the cab corner came out. You can see that, but man, the shape's really good. It's super smooth, guys. Man, I'm super excited. The back looks really good. It is actually gonna be really hard to show because of the dry spot of where the filler is, but once we get the high build on, you'll be able to really tell it's looking super, super straight. I'm just so excited. And sorry if I'm starting to stumble on my words, guys. I work 12-hour days, and when I get home, I'm tired. So I want to get this done. So, you know, my speech is the first to suffer. Now, last thing I want to show you guys on this cab is this over here. We recreated the body line with solder and just kind of smooth it out. And man, once it's all body filled and everything, it just looks awesome. Same with here. This came out really, really good. I'm just super happy with the work that got done, guys. Now we actually get to move on with getting this into high build. This has actually been sitting for 24 hours and this epoxy will accept the high build without having to sand it, which is a big reason why I did it, trying to cut down on all the work I have to do. But let's go ahead and get it in now before it gets dried or too dry. You know what I'm saying. Now I went ahead and covered up the seat riser and the seat rails, the thing that move back and forth, those, because I'm not going to be actually recoating those. So we're going to put sound deadener and all that on the floor, so I'm not worried about overspray there, but I don't want it on the seat riser and the gas tank straps. So that's done. I went ahead and covered in the wheel wells because even though I'm going to recover those or coat them later, I don't have to deal with a bunch of high build. And I covered all the holes, so I'm not spraying a bunch of high build into the cab. You know, I just try to clean it up a little bit. Same thing over here. Now for the high build, guys, I am going to be using U-POL's System 20. Now this is a good mid-grade, and again, I don't know much about paint, but this was a good recommendation from some people, and I heard it sands really well. It had nothing but good reviews, and it's not super expensive, which was the big plus. Now, before we go over there and start mixing it up, let's get it in the shake and bake and make sure it's nice and mixed up. Let's see. All right, this thing is well mixed up. I let this thing sit for a little longer than I should have, but it's good and it's ready to go. Now I'm gonna do what I did last time, guys. This is a 4-to-1, so I'm just gonna follow the measurements on the cup and we'll get it all mixed up and we'll start spraying. Now I'm gonna be using the same gun I did before, but I did put a 1.8 tip on there. This is the reason I got this gun, guys. Got this years ago because you can get a bunch of tips for it. I have 1.3, 1.5, a 1.8, and a 2.2 for this gun, so I don't have to go out and buy another one because, you know, no one's got money like that. Now let me get this mixed up and we'll start spraying. Well, it is the next day, guys, and that's just how it works out with my work schedule, but it gave the cab plenty of time to dry. Man, check this thing out. It looks so, so good. Crazy excited about it, but let's take a closer look. Now, in full disclosure, guys, I'm really new to high build, as in this is the first time I've ever sprayed it, so I'm actually kind of curious. Is it supposed to look this orange peely? I'm not really sure about the finish. It just came out, I don't know, just bumpy. But it covered really well. It's super thick. It obviously covered up a lot of the blemishes, so it did its job. It sprayed a lot different. I'm just used to paint flowing so much better. Like you lay it down, it's nice and glossy and glass-like. This came out blotchy and bumpy, and I just am not used to that at all. So drop a comment down there and let me know if that's how it's supposed to look, so I know if I'm on the right direction. But also let me show you some of the issues that I had. So I was hoping it would cover more of the pitting in the metal. It did a decent job. It doesn't look too bad. But in here, you can see that there are some pretty bad pits that didn't get covered in here and here. Really along the belt line was the worst, especially over here. And then over here, it's hard to tell because there's just a ton of orange peel, but you can definitely see where the pitting was. Also, guys, I didn't just put 1 or 2 or 3 coats on. I put the entire gallon of high build on here. I'm not messing around. After I put about a coat on here, it wasn't flowing the way I wanted to. I switched from my 1.8 to my 2.2 tip and just hosed it on. And I just kept going until I could fill as many of the blemishes as that I could. So it's all on there. I just dumped it. I don't know if that's too much. You guys let me know, but it covered what I needed it to for the most part. Kind of felt like maybe I should have gone with like a thicker, like a feather fill or a polyester. Again, I'm new. So you guys let me know. Drop down and tell me all the mistakes that I made in the comments. Now with that, guys, I think my plan will just be, you know, when we finally get this block sanded out, whatever's left, I'll fill. And then I'll spot prime that and we'll kind of just send it. I really don't know what else to do. Again, you guys let me know. And I'll have plenty of time to take your comments into consideration, because what's gonna happen now is this bad boy is gonna get wrapped up with some plastic. I'm gonna push it off to the side, desperately clean the shop like it needs to, and we'll get started on the rest of the body panels. All right, back to sheet metal and body work, because that has essentially become my life now. Who knew that building a car was really just about sheet metal work? As you can tell, guys, I'm starting to get a little impatient to get to the point where we get that cab back on the body and we actually start, you know, getting the engine running again. See if the fact that I rebuilt the trans and that actually works would be great. You know, all of the other fun stuff. But we got to knock this stuff out. Now this is where we're at. So I went ahead and plastic that off and pushed it out of the way, so hopefully it protects what we did. And now I got these back from the sandblasters and they look really, really good. Don't mind this. This is me already spilling stuff on it since I got it, but story of my life. Now this is the driver's side. We do got to get the work in here. We got to get these holes done. And then this over here came out really bad, guys. This has a ton of pinholes. It's over here looking like Starry Night. I don't know how well it's going to show up on camera, but it's got its own constellation, guys. All of these pinholes have just, you know, there's the Big Dipper, there's Orion's bell. This is bad. Not only that, it really shows you that even though you can see a couple big spots, which I'll show you in a second, you definitely can't see all these little ones. Now, I don't know how well that's actually gonna show up on camera, but essentially there are 1,000 holes. Now, you really can't see all of those. You can see the little ones here, here. I'd say like 10 or 15. But there are a bunch of tiny pinholes that are gonna really be a pain. It's honestly a lot worse than I thought it was. What I should do is actually, you know, weld in a patch panel, but I don't have anything that actually, you know, fits this or anything to patch that in. So I think the plan of action is to weld up as many of the holes that I can, and then I'm just gonna run some body solder over it. And then just see how well I got it. I don't know what else to do here. I could try to shape a piece of metal, but I would be replacing from here all the way over here and down. Essentially huge part of the fender. Yeah, that sucks really bad. So that's gonna be my plan of action. We're just gonna weld them up and then body solder over it, and hopefully that takes care of our issue. Now the passenger side fender, like all the passenger side stuff, is really good. Now, well, as far as rust, it doesn't need any rust repair at all. It needs a bunch of dent work and body work and stuff like that, but we'll deal with that later. The other thing that needs rust repair is our hood. I showed this in a previous video, but we have this little piece right here that needs to be taken care of. And our support bracket here as well is rotted out on all sides. And then last, but definitely not least, our core support. This is pretty roached out, but I already knew that. I do not have the 12 gauge yet to repair that, so we're gonna hold off. All of this in here needs to be cut out and repaired, but this will be straightforward, really easy, and you're not gonna see it, so I'm not gonna worry too much about it. Basically, we're starting back at ground zero. We gotta build this thing back up and get it to where the cab is. Now I got a grinder and a welder and nowhere near enough time, so let's get started. Now for this, it's rotted on each side and then the top here, but it seems to be pretty strong right here in the middle. So I'm just gonna replace it piece by piece. First this big one, and then we'll come in and replace the sides. Well, this is, yeah, it's pretty bad in there, guys. And then this stuff is super thin, so I think we're just gonna have to cut it out and rebuild this whole piece. Man. You know, you just clean up all that overspray with some brake clean. That way you can weld to it later. All right, now since this is the Swiss cheese that's left from the piece that we cut out, I'm gonna just put a little bit of tape to create a template because it's kind of an odd shape. Lucky for us, and I'll show you guys in a second, is this has a bit of a swoop, but that was actually still good. So this should just be a straight piece. Come in like that. Just something like that. Take our little template and just put it here. This is a scrap piece of 16 gauge because it's actually what that bracket is. So let's see if we can get that lined up. There we go. Scribe it. Yeah, straight lines aren't my thing today. Got it. Just, you know, somewhere in this vicinity pretty much. There we go. As you saw, I then immediately realized this is this tape and I can just cut along the line. So we didn't need to scribe it. Let's see how it fits. All right, I actually already cleaned up our piece with the roll lock and kind of test fit it, but it's actually fitting really, really good. I'm happy with that. So there we go. Fits solid. Let's get that welded in. Now, before we weld this on, probably should, you know, get the back with some weld through primer so it doesn't rust out again. But my cap broke off on here, so we'll just see if we can hose it on. Let's see. Will it work? No, maybe. There we go. Well, I made a mess everywhere, but you know, I got what I needed out. Let's let that dry and we'll get it in. It's all tacked in. It's definitely not pretty, but I didn't feel comfortable running a bead because I thought the old metal would still be kind of thin. So I just tacked it in. Now let's do the same thing to get these side pieces. Actually, I'll just rub an edge here. Went ahead and made up both the little pieces that I'm gonna need, so let me just get these cut out. Now these things are tiny and being a pain in the butt to kind of hold up here and, you know, figure out where they need to go. I did already fine tune them with the roll lock, so I'm just gonna tap them in and pray to God they don't fall into this brace and I lose them forever. Let's see how this goes. And there's the end result, guys. I'm actually pretty happy with it. It's got the natural curve in the body line that brings it up, and this actually sanded out really nice. Downside is this is really hard to get to because of this bracket, but the weld doesn't look bad, so I'm just gonna leave it, and that's gonna be finished. And then already jumped over here and took care of this. Mainly because it's the same thing. You don't need to see me doing this 5 different times. So I got this done. This side didn't need to be done, and I just welded in a little patch here. So we can knock that off the list, and man, was that worth it. Look at all of the nonsense that was behind it. I do still need to come up here and clean this up, but then we'll deal with that later. Also, while I was fixing this side, I was thinking I probably should have done this before I test fit the hood. And some of you were probably thinking that because chances are the heat will probably warp the bracket and the hood's not gonna fit now. And that would be my luck. But I'm gonna do the smart thing and just pretend like that's not an issue, and we'll deal with it when it's all painted. And we'll try to fit the hood. Well, let's move on to the last bit of rust repair, which is this, so we can mark this hood off the list. Yeah, it's pretty bad behind there too. Rust is out forever. All right, I went ahead and already made up one of the tape templates, just like I did before. I figured you guys didn't want to see that again. Now, we'll just match it up over here at the end and get it all cut out. Once you get it cut out though, the hood actually has a little bit of shape to it, like a little bit of a crown, so we gotta make sure we put that in before we weld it in. All right, let's get this thing all cut out. All right, we're all chalked up in Big Red over here, and this panel already had a crease in it, so, you know, Big Red was able to hold it real easy. All right. I wish I had like a shear for this, but it's something I need to get. Ooh, hot, hot, hot. Okay, oh, and it's on the floor. All right, let's go see if this thing will fit. All right, after a bunch of back and forth, I actually got it fitting pretty good. Looks really, really good. Now, the only downside is if you look right here at this ledge, it's not fitting great because it has a bow in it. Like I said, this actually has some shape in it. So we need to kind of bend it a little bit, I think, like this, and maybe curve it a little bit like that, and it should fit okay. All right, I don't have any actual shaping tools, so we're just gonna, you know, bend on it a little bit. Try not to crease it. How does that look? A little bit there, a little bit too much. Perfect. Okay, bend it back out here. Ooh, man, this metal wants to crease real easy on me. Oh, okay, keep dropping this thing. Let's try it with a magnet. I know it's gonna be hard to see, but after a little back and forth, man, it is almost seamless. So I'm just gonna tack it there and then help the magnets kind of guide it, but I think we're gonna be good to go. Well guys, it's the next day because it got really late. It was like midnight. So I went in and got some rest, but bright and early I went out and got the metal for the core support, so we were ready to start jamming on everything again. Now you guys saw me finish up this hood, and man, it actually came out pretty good. I'm pretty happy with it. It looks smooth, and at least it's just not a rusted hole anymore. It's not perfect. There are a couple little areas, but I can't bang it out anymore because the bracket here. So that's about as good as it's gonna get, and that kind of marks off the hood, which is really, really nice to get that finished. And we can jump over here and take care of the 2 holes that we have here and our star constellation kind of going on. There's the shop dog. She graces me with her presence when my wife leaves. Now, let's get these kind of welded up. What I'm gonna do is come over here and use this panel. Now, this is off the cab corners because I don't throw anything away. So let's see if we can get a couple little pieces off this. Now this is actually some thick metal. I think it's 18 gauge, so it cuts okay. I have a couple of these. They're all used. I picked up from my uncle. So I kind of found which one was gonna cut best, which is this one. And we'll see if we can get some holes out of it. I'm not really sure how well this is gonna go. I think I'm just gonna cut some squares. Yeah, barely gets through. And then we'll fine tune them maybe with a roll lock. All right. And now it's all bent and twisted from being cut, so I'll have to bang that out, but let me see if it's big enough. I went ahead and cut another one out, and now we'll just get them flat. Even though I'm gonna have to put some curve back into it to match the curve in the fender, but easier to cut when it's flat. And don't mind the dirty workbench, that's what I'm trying to say. Kind of gets like this when I'm jamming in the shop. All right, now I'll take the squares and slam them here, pull them in with a magnet, there we go. And then kind of mark the area. Oh, come on, don't move on me. There we go. Get me in the ballpark of what I need. Now, half the battle is really just trying to accurately cut these circles out. These little pieces keep wanting to slip away on me. Having Big Red hold them is making a huge difference. There we go. And sorry if I'm sniffling, guys. I didn't wear my mask when I was grinding last night, and my nose is destroyed. So I will be wearing a mask later. Well, here are terribly cut circles. Didn't do a good job, but it's close enough, and I think the roll lock will get us the rest of the way. After a lot of back and forth, I actually got it fitting pretty good. I'm actually really surprised it even fits that well. So I'm gonna go ahead and run it. I thought I was gonna have to put some shape into it, but it feels really, really good. Well, that was an immediate fail. The wire coming out of the gun actually pushed this inside. So I'm gonna have to find a better way to hold these. All right, well, you guys saw me welding it up and then the camera fell because I'm trying to mount out and obviously that's not working, but we got this all done and man, I'm actually really, really happy, guys. So this looks good. You see some of the grind marks, that's what that is, but it was a little bit of a low. You saw me pound it out, but it's pretty good now. We'll come fix it later when we do all the dent repair, which of course we have to do on this. And this one is perfect. You can't feel this at all. So I'm really, really happy with this repair, which means we can move on to our star constellation here. This thing is gonna be a pain. I am not looking forward to this, but it's really the only way to save this cab. I mean, check it out, cab. This is a Fender, that's what I'm working on now. Now I know the best way to repair that is a patch, but like I said, the area is way, way too big. It's better off just getting a new fender. So we're gonna fix it that way. Now what I'm gonna use to help me is gonna be this here. So I take this little copper spoon, which is, wow, that needs to be cleaned up. Bring it over here and just kind of jam it in the holes and back it up like that. I don't know if you guys can see it. So this will help give enough area so I'm not just making a bigger mess than it already is. All right, let's jump in on it. Well guys, in that last clip, you saw me welding up all of the pinholes. And as I was doing that, my body was telling me, Jason, go sit down. Something is wrong, go sit down. And that is exactly what I did. And after that, I didn't get up for 3 days. And I mean it, guys. I went in there and sat down and I was there for 3 days. It turns out the allergies that I had thought I had at the beginning of this video were really just, it turned out to be the flu. Man, was I sick. I haven't been that sick in a while, guys. I actually ended up not being able to go to work. It was the whole thing. It was bad. But the downside of that is it actually put me really, really behind on work here. I've got to get a bunch done to get this video out to you guys, so let me show you where we're at. So this is the weld up that I did. You saw that I kind of had a bunch of pinholes. I went and got as many as I could. I was actually really happy that some of them just welded right up and others, you know, they blew out on me. So I had to chase a couple. This one I ground out because this was a really bad chase, but we got most of everything. Now, with me being sick for 3 days, today is all that I have to be able to get as much as I can done so that I can get a video out to you guys. This is the last day that I have. So what we're gonna do is jump in here, grind this out, kind of see what I need to do. We'll bring in the solder and see if we can actually save this fender. And speaking of saving this thing, I actually pulled this out the same day that I was first welding this up. This is the original fender. I ground this back to see if I could maybe use it as a patch panel, but it was really, rusted, that's the word I'm looking for. Underneath, bunch of dent. This is a rust through hole, so it's not much better. So we're better off trying to save that.
There's the end result, guys. I'm actually really happy with how this is turning out. It's looking really solid now, which really makes me feel a ton better about saving this crusty fender. But man, that's gonna be awesome. And I'll come through and flow some solder, and we'll do that in a little bit. But I went ahead and sanded the rest of this fender down, as you can see. And I did that because this thing has got a ton of dings and dents. We gotta get a dent out here. Remember in the video when I was fitting up the sheet metal, this is still a little bit waffled out. Our body line is a little wonky. There's a bunch of little stuff in here, especially over here in the front. It needs a little bit of love. You can see right here, there's a low, and then there's still a crack in the fender. Just one of the downsides to, you know, actually trying to use original 70-year-old metal, almost 71-year-old metal now, if this is still a 53 style. So it's shown its life. It's had a hard one. So let me go through and start banging this out, guys, and we see how close we can get it. Because I don't want to lay a bunch of solder down and then have the solder being bumped around and disturbed and all that, and we'll have to worry about any kind of issues with it. So let's get that done. All right, well, forever later, and I got this thing in somewhat of a shape of a fender. It's not perfect, and definitely is not as good as I was hoping it'd be. You saw me really whacking at this thing, guys, but what I realized is, man, this thing is just, it's got dings everywhere, like a ding there, 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 there. Like it's been through a lot. I really did get, like the one I showed you, you can barely feel this. It's almost gone perfect. You saw me cut and we re-weld this, so that looks really good. As far as the fender itself, it's in the shape of a fender. It's super close. It's just one of those things of dealing with 70-year-old metal. It's nowhere gonna near perfect, and I'm starting to really understand why guys chase down those perfect fenders or buy new ones, but this is what I'm dealing with. So that's gonna be where I leave it. It's gonna need a little filler, a little high build to get it where we need it, but I'm super happy about saving 70-year-old metal. This is gonna be original fender that's gonna live on the truck. So I'm gonna call it a win, even though it's still so far from perfect. There's actually one last thing that needs to be done, and I'm surprised no one actually commented on it. So you guys know I'm building a 53 GMC. This is actually a Chevy fender. So the big difference between a Chevy and a GMC fender is the parking light. So in GMC, it goes right there, which is actually over here on the old original fender. Now this thing is purely made of filler, guys. This is why it does look good if you stare at it, but there's almost no metal left in that fender. So that's why I never went with it. So that's actually the hole that needs to be put into it. That's the only difference between a Chevy and GMC fender. As you saw, they absolutely interchanged completely. I mean, it bolted right on. The only issue I had was here where I had to kind of mess around. That's because this fender's kind of messed up. So I just need to come in here and make sure that I put those holes in. That's the last thing I want to do before I go ahead and start the body work, which would be the soldering part. But I still got to get this fender into shape because I want to go ahead and punch the holes at the same time. This fender here, guys, has been great, but it is in the same idea or condition of just having a bunch of dings and dents. Some are really bad, and I definitely want to ding them out, like here and here. This is actually really good. Where is it? Oh, there's a big whammo in here. Let's see if the light will show it. So I definitely want to come in and get that out. And then there's a couple big ones over here. Yeah, like right in here. Now you already saw me bang on this fender, so it's gonna be the same thing there. So let me go ahead and get that in the shape of a fender, and I'll get back to you guys. Well, 2 hours later, and this fender is done. This thing is a little bit worse than I thought it was, so it definitely fought me. You guys remember in the last video where I banged out a big dent and I kind of roughed it in? I definitely came back and hammered on it. I got it as best as I could. It's a lot better. And then there was a big old dent in here I talked about earlier. This one really fought me. As you can see, it's really not perfect, but it's out and it's in the shape it's supposed to be, and that's kind of all that I'm gonna do. This is a tough spot because it wraps this way and also has a big crown right in here, so it's definitely a difficult one. This was split here, we welded that up. Came through, there's a bunch of highs and lows, a bunch of little dents and stuff that got knocked out, so I'm really happy the way this came out. And then over here, I didn't even realize it till I pulled it up. This was actually smashed in up to where this little line is, so I had to bang it out, bring that back to life, but it's all where it needs to be. I'm pretty happy with it, guys. What's really weird though is this body line is not very pronounced at all. And then over here on our driver's side one, it's really, really pronounced. I really think that just has to do with different type of stamping throughout the years. These are definitely not from the same years. I mean, I saw that when I put in that cow panel where the body line was stamped just a little bit different. It's just kind of how it goes. Just talking and doing this is getting me out of breath, guys. I'm still not quite 100%. I definitely had a lot of upper airway congestion. And man, it gets tough trying to like talk while doing this. But I got it all done, so this is roughed out. And it's not perfect. It's not perfect at all. You see a bunch of little lows here, 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 here. It definitely has that. Now I can spend 6.5 years trying to bang this out and it still won't be perfect. And it's funny, my wife always, you know, tells people that I definitely do lean towards the perfectionist side of things. It may not show here, but I really do. And actually that's what the truck has done for me. It really has helped me like get away from that as much, realizing, well, mainly because I don't have the skills to do it is why I have to get away from it, but realizing things don't have to be perfect, but at least this thing is gonna be on the road and it's gonna look good. And also this is a good lesson for you guys. You know, if you guys are really worried about how it's turning out, I promise you, you get it here, put a little bit of filler in it, you high build it, it's gonna be just fine. So that's where we're at with this. So now I'm ready to finally move on. So these are all, you know, worked to the best of my ability. Now I need to come over here and get these holes, that's the words I'm trying to say, into these fenders. Now to be able to get the holes right in the right location, hopefully, I am going to make a template. Now this is just a file folder that I have, and I picked that because it's a bit of a thicker cardboard, or thicker paper, like construction paper. So I'm just going to tape this on here and try to make a template where I have like landmarks I can recreate over there. Now I only have the driver's side fender to make a template off of, because you remember our passenger side, this is completely eaten away. So what I'm gonna do is kind of come up over here where the curve of this starts, and tape this here. And then let's just cut off the excess. All right, still excess. Curves here, it's not going to lay. All right, yeah, there we go. There we go. And now I'm thinking I'll use the what is this thing called? The headlight bucket area opening as a template so I know where to line that up. That's fine. I want to use the actual curve. So this body line is actually what I'm aiming for. So I don't care how rough that one is. So let me... So I think that should do it. Let me just take this off, and then I already have my marks on the back, and we'll cut those out and see how close I am. All right, then I just jump over here, and I think I'm just gonna punch these out. This is a 1/4 inch punch, that's the word for it. And knock it out just like that. Hopefully it's in the ballpark. Now, I already, and I'll show you right now, I did a bunch of measurements over there just to verify that. I'm not gonna solely rely on this, but it's gonna get me in the ballpark and let me know where I need to go. Now for this, I'm not gonna cut this out. This is supposed to be an 1.5 inch hole. All I wanna do is make sure that I leave a hole for the center. So, my measurements are right. Let me check again. Yeah, so center of this should be 1 3/8 inches from one another. And then I'll punch that. And we'll go loosely mock it up. Yeah, that's awful. I'll make it work though. Let's go. All right, here I am all mocked up. So this is the measurements that I took. I took 1,000,000 measurements from here to here, from here to here, from here to here, from the bottom up to this hole. So I have a bunch of reference points, and now I threw our template on. And actually the template actually lined up really good where I expected it to. So I'm just gonna come in here and kind of hit the circle. There you go, hit the circle. And that technically is supposed to be center, but we can see. And then I'll take this off and make sure all of these measurements match up. All right, after a ton of back and forth, the truth is the template, it gets you in the ballpark. Thank God I actually took measurements because it is a little off. So that's the original hole, the round hole from the template. And if I get in real close, that shiny part is where I actually punched it. So that's where it needs to be. Same thing here, slightly off and slightly off. So let me know where I needed to go, and then I could just match up the measurements from there. But that is, I think, what we're gonna go with. It's perfectly spaced. That seems to be perfectly spaced. I measured from here, as you guys saw, so I think we're gonna run with that. I mean, wish me luck. Worst case scenario, I gotta weld it back up, but I really don't wanna be doing that right now. So let's get these drilled out. Now I'm just gonna make this as simple as I can. I'm gonna start with a small drill bit and then go to the holes that I need. So this needs to be a 1/4 inch hole, these two, and this one is 1.5 inches. So fit it there. Quarter inch. And then I'm actually gonna drill this one out to 1/4 inch because that's how big I need it to be for the hole saw. Looks pretty even though. All right, here goes nothing. Make sure this is. That's not good at all. That was dumb. Yikes. If anyone's curious what happened there, I left that on hammer drill for some reason. This actually has clutches in there. So if that happens, this slips and it doesn't create a huge dent like it did there. Oh man. And then I broke a bunch of teeth on this thing. That sucked. All right. But I think we got the hole we needed. I could hopefully bang that dent out. Man, let me show you. So it does look really good, similar, but as you can see, that's all warped out. So let me bang this out real quick and clean this up. And let's see if a light fits. All right. Fits perfect. No, is there an issue? Let's see. Oh no, we're good. There it is, fits great. This is the actual parking light. This didn't come with the truck. Actually, the truck didn't have the right ones on it. I had to hunt these down. I think I found a good way to get these. I'll share that later. I just want to verify. But here we go. Sits really nice. And on the back side, fits perfect like it's supposed to. So we're good to go. I got a little dicey there, mainly my fault. Like I said, make sure you have the right setting on your drill. I'm gonna go ahead and smash it out on the passenger side and I'll bring you guys back. There it is, passenger side all done, and I managed to do it without destroying it. So that's kind of nice. And the parking light fits just fine. Looks great. So there we go, 2 Chevy to GMC fenders. Now, if anyone is actually going to use a template, I was able to use it on that side. I just, flipped it around. So turned it this way. Again, it just got me in the ballpark though. Definitely rely on the measurements. That was, yeah, without the measurements, it wouldn't have come out right. And if anyone is curious about what I meant here, it was on the hammer setting. You see that hammer there, which means nothing was gonna stop that thing. What you can put it on are these numbers here, and this has got a clutch pack in it, and most people know this, but if you don't, that way when you're going and the drill kicks, it doesn't break your wrist, it'll just slip. And the higher the number, the more force it takes before it slips. That's all that means, guys. That's what you need to have it on when you're doing a hole saw, and I had it on this, and it ran through like butter, no problem. All right, let me clean up the big mess I've created, and we'll finally start laying some solder. And there it is, all cleaned up. Man, it looks so good to finally have a little bit of room in here, even though I'm rapidly running out, having all the truck sheet metal in here. But the fender is here and ready to go, all set up. I got all my solder stuff out, and ready to go. One thing I did do, guys, is when I was sick, I came in here and I swapped back out my filtration system for the air compressor. If you remember on another video, one of these just exploded on me and blew everywhere. It was for the discontent beads, however you say that. I never get that right. This is from SST Megaflow. This is Stupid Simple Tools, which actually is kind of a good name. I reached out to the company and let them know it kind of blew up on me and just sent them pictures. They took a while to respond, about a week, but when they did, they just say, hey, send me your address, we'll send you stuff out. They sent me everything. A new bottle, new fill, everything I would need to get that going, new O-rings. It was awesome. They took care of me and it's up and running. And so this is the old one. Now, the big reason why I don't like this one, guys, is, here, let me show you. Sorry. Is look how, let me turn the light on for you. Look how corroded it gets in there. And that's where the beads are, and even this one here. Hold on, sorry. It's all corroded in there too. Now that stuff comes through, doesn't get caught through and sends through your airline. Although it does get the job done. So this is about $180 on Amazon, so it does get it done. And that one is about $350. I will put a link to that because it is a lot better of a unit, and at least the customer service is there. It's about $350. So I'll put a link to it, guys. I do recommend it. But if you're starting out trying to get stuff painted, this will get the job done. Just know that you're gonna really have to keep on top of the cleaning. Now, I'm not affiliated with that company at all. I just want to give a shout out to a good American-made company. They make that right here in America. It's about 4 guys in a garage, they told me. And, you know, a shout out to them. I love supporting small businesses, especially American-made ones. And, you know, $350 sounds like a lot, but that's actually pretty cheap compared to some of the other ones you can get out there. So I'll throw that up for you guys. And if you want to support them, go for it. Now, let's get this thing. Yeah, it's dirty. I'll get this thing all cleaned up. We can start laying some solder. All right, now since the idea here is just kind of fill all the pits and give a little bit more strength to the thin metal, I'm gonna tin a large area. Now, it doesn't mean I'm gonna be just dumping a ton of solder. Well, I'm gonna be dumping a ton of solder all over it, but it doesn't mean I'm gonna be putting it on real thick. I just wanna be able to put it anywhere there's a lot of pits and basically fill the pits with metal. You can definitely use stuff like all metal or fiberglass or stuff like that to fill this, but I'm really starting to enjoy soldering. I would probably solder up all of the imperfections on this fender, or a fender in general. This thing is just so beat that it is gonna be a lot easier to just skim coat with a little bit of filler and run it that way. But I am putting a large area. I may not use everywhere that I'm tinning, but I just want to make sure once I'm in here, I can put it where I want it. Now I switched back to using a rag. This is different though, it's not the microfiber. When the microfiber was melting on me, it's just that the, what was I using? The steel wool was kind of still melting into this stuff anyways and reacting weird with it. Come on, heat up, there we go. All right, that took absolutely forever, guys, and I'm not even sure if you're supposed to tin huge areas like this, but that's what I did. So let's keep going. Man, it's smoky in here. All right, guys, I am all done, and man, I'm so happy with how it came out. I will tell you that I actually had stopped in between and described what I was doing, but my microphone died, so there was no audio to it, so all you're gonna see is me jamming all the way through, and let me tell you what I did, and I'm really, really happy with the results. Check it out. Man, this is exciting. So if you guys can see, where that color changes, that's all where the solder is. So you saw how much I was putting on, but it was really just a thin coat, and then I just came back and knocked it off, and it filled in all of the low. There was a lot of it, and that's why there was a lot of pinholes. There was a lot of thin metal. It was all pitted, but check it out. Filled it out perfectly. That's awesome, guys. Now, my process, as you saw, so I took this and I knocked down all of the big highs. This is it's just like a giant roll lock. It's electric. I have 60 grit on here. And then, where's my other stuff? I took the DA just to smooth it out, but there it is. I was using this like you would a Duro block for a body filler. I just blocked it out to make sure that it's nice and smooth, that I wasn't getting highs or lows, that I was able to really get it where I need it. So this ground it down to perfection, took the DA over there and just smoothed it out with 80 grit, and this is the result. Don't get me wrong, there's some scratches from it. We'll definitely have to come back with a little bit of filler, but it's just perfect. Don't get me wrong, I messed up in some areas because I wasn't used to, I'm just learning. This is more what I'm used to doing. I did a little spot over here where a dent was. But so I definitely kind of messed up in some areas because this was such a huge area. But man, it came out good. So happy with it. Also, guys, I went ahead and already turned off the lights and did a light test. There is not one single pinhole. This is absolutely completely sealed up and saved. The best part about this is it's not like if I was to sandblast this again, or even if you went and chemical washed it, yeah, when you dip it, this stuff would stay. So this is essentially a really big, good repair. I'm not speaking, it's getting late, guys. But man, it's a good repair. This is a saved, rusty, crusty original Fender, and I'm stoked about it. Now, I knew I was taking on a big task when I bought this rusty, crusty Fender, but I really loved the idea of saving original metal. Now, you guys saw me using power sanders. That is the absolute best upside to this not actually being lead, is that you can go at it with power sanders. You don't need to sit here and just file away at it for 1,000 years. I just use the power sanders and you're able to get through it. Just make sure you mask up because there's a lot of fine metal particles, but man, that is awesome. Now with that, guys, that's gonna be a video. That's all I could get done today. The sickness has really held me back this week. This video is not nearly as jam-packed as I would have liked it to been. I definitely wanted to get the radiator support done. I already did pick up some 12 gauge to get it done, but it just couldn't happen in this video. That kind of sucks, but it is what it is. But in the next video, we'll get the radiator support done, and I actually want to change gears and jump on the steering box. I'm pointing because it's over there. The steering box, I want to rebuild that, get that done, because that needs to get painted along with the inner fenders and the rest of the other stuff, because I want to paint the inner fenders, because that doesn't need body work or filler or high build or anything like that. It just needs some protection on it. It's going to epoxy and some top coat and we're done. But with that, guys, I just want to say thank you so much. The channel's been growing really fast lately, and I appreciate it. It's all thanks to you guys watching the video from start to finish. That actually helps a lot. Liking the videos, commenting on the videos, and to all the new subscribers, thank you and welcome. And I appreciate it because we're just getting started with this channel. With that, guys, like always, if I can do any of this, especially that, so can you. I'll catch you guys on the next one.